What's good, y'all? This is your boy Tony Sway, who's up tonight. It's about 9:30 where I'm at, out in Seattle. Yeah, man. Drinking my Perrier sparkling water. Shoot, all I drink is sparkling water, y'all. I can't go back to normal water. It's just sparkling water for me. I've been on sparkling water ever since about 2009 when I started going to Olive Garden. Started going to Olive Garden and they had Pellegrino. And ever since I had that Pellegrino at Olive Garden back in like 2009, I just I always got to get sparkling water. For a while, I was like all about Fiji water, but then I got tired of it and I went back to the sparkling water. But yeah, as you can see, um, in the laboratory, got the MP cooking up in the kitchen, and got the synths, all the new keyboards, which is nice. I'm looking at some more keyboards to purchase as well. Um, you can never have enough sounds, to be honest. If you produce music, there's never enough sounds. But today, I actually want to the main thing I want to talk about today is the science behind a hit song. I really want to get into the science behind a hit song, and I want to get feedback from people who are watching this, what you guys think it actually takes to make a hit record. What are the key elements? What are the key elements in a hit record? Pardon my Grey Poupon. If y'all from the 80s, obviously I was born in the 80s, but they used to have these commercials, these Grey Poupon commercials. Every commercial was like, pardon my Grey Poupon. Yeah, some silly stuff from the 80s, but man, let's talk about the science behind a hit record. What truly makes a hit song? And I know a lot of music. I'm like a music encyclopedia. There's pretty much, I almost know every song out there from the 80s and 90s, of course. Those are the key years, but I mean, I hear it and I can tell you what it is, the name of the artist, everything. I mean, my taste of music is, I listen to everything that came out in the 80s and 90s pretty much growing up. So whatever was just whatever was on the radio, I listened to it. I mean, it's not just R&B. I listen to I was even listening to rock music, not as heavy as R&B, but if you look back in my music collection, I've even done a cover of that 80s rock band White Snake. I made a cover of their song "Is This Love?" And so some interesting stuff you probably didn't know about me, but I have a pretty eclectic taste in music. I'm not one-sided, but my passion is in R&B. But I grab from all kinds of different genres, to be honest with you. And I try to fit it into the R&B, world, as you would say. But what actually makes a hit record? I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to break it down in the most simplistic way. In today's modern market of music, I think what really makes a really big hit record, it starts with the melody. I know that's, wow, that doesn't sound too profound, right? But I think it starts with the melody. And I think to make a big hit record, there has to be a key melody that kind of just gets stuck in people's head, that they can hum all day, something they can just hum all day. And no matter what they do, it's still in their subconscious. I think people need to make records that are that hypnotizing in order to achieve a hit song. Let's just go back through the years. Let's go back to Michael Jackson, right? Sip my Perrier. Only the finest for your boy Sway. You know what I'm saying? Yes, how I do it. Yeah. So only the finest for your boy Sway. But let's go back to Michael J. Let's talk about really one of his greatest albums, Off the Wall, right? Let's study some of the songs off there. The greatest song on Off the Wall, arguably would be Rock With You. There's a lot of great songs on that album, but I think Rock With You pretty much that's the one that for me that was like one of the ultimate Michael records. From the verses to the way it goes into the chorus, the chord changes in the chorus. But also, many of you guys don't know this, but my first inspiration for, synth leads is really that lead sound on the Rock With You, like down, 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 man. That was like the first lead sound growing up that really stood out to me. It's probably the reason why I use leads so much now. What up, A Major Keys? What's good, man? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so that's the first time like a lead sound really stood out to me, was that Michael Jackson Off the Wall. And now I can't stop using leads. I can't help it. Like there isn't a beat that I make that I don't put a lead sound in, because I just think it's such a cool sound. Like it's that synthesizer sine lead is such a cool sound. So the first time I heard that was on the Michael Jackson Rock With You. And it almost sounds like kind of like an organ on that particular record, but it could be a sine lead. I think it's a sine lead, but I'll have to do my research and see what keyboards or synthesizers they actually use for Rock With You. But man, that's the first time I heard that sine lead on a hit record. All night, when the sunlight, all night. Like that sine lead it played perfectly how Quincy Jones produced that with his musicians. It played perfectly to Michael's vocals and to his harmonies. Like the way it intersected with his vocals and his harmonies it's so perfect. And I think producers really should study that Off the Wall album. There's some things that we could all really learn about how to produce people on that record. The way that the music, bobbed and weaved with Michael Jackson's vocals, particularly on the Rock With You song. Everything seemed to be at the right moment. You know what I mean? Yeah, Tevin Campbell, tomorrow. Oh yeah, Tomorrow. Yeah, that song. That's a Quincy Jones, right? That's on the Quincy Jones album, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, man. Tevin Campbell. I know Tevin Campbell he's underrated, but he has hits. You know what I mean? I wish that he could have went further, because I mean, he really took off in the 90s with, especially with Can We Talk? That was like his biggest record from what I could remember. And Babyface came through with those electric piano chords and dun, dun, dun. Like as soon as that comes in, you already know that's like a hit. Yeah, Babyface's production is another production that, if you really want to know the science behind a hit record, study Babyface. Study his production. Was very simplistic. He didn't overcrowd the beats. He didn't really overdo the chords either. He didn't make super crazy complex chords that you couldn't figure out. Most of the records, if you listen to them, it's stuff that you can figure out on the keyboard. In following they'll have bridges. Obviously, Babyface was king of bridges, but he didn't do stuff that was like so difficult that you couldn't just learn it on the keyboard. He made music that people could sing along to, chords that you could play along to, and but it was like he focused heavy on melody and. Study, for instance, Can We Talk? Think about how that song catches you right away. The way that song right away. Can we talk for a minute? Girl, I want to know your name. Like as soon as those chords drop in, it's just a hit. Like you're like, as soon as it comes in, like it's just a hit. Like even before you hear the verses or much of the lyrics, it just catches you. And that's part of the science behind a hit record is the melodies have to be so potent that you're hooked on them right away. If you think about the greatest songs, the melodies hook you right away. This is for all my producers out there. So A Major, I know you're listening in, and any other producers that are listening in, or if you guys tune in later, because I'd be doing these lives at random, they're not really planned. But I believe the melody has to be so potent in a song, and that's what truly makes it a hit. Like it has to hypnotize people to the point where they can't get it out of their head. So, you know, Can We Talk? Tevin Campbell is a great example. As soon as those chords come in, it's over. It just draws you in right away. And then of course it gets better, you know, because Tevin Campbell has that great voice, you know, written, arranged by Babyface, the vocals, and you know, Babyface comes through with the harmonies on the chorus. And as far as I know, he said he used to record a lot of his harmonies in the bathroom, which is pretty interesting. I've never tried that, but I wonder if he said he used to do all his backing vocals in the bathroom. So I'm guessing he tried that on that song too. But yeah, the melody is so distinctive on that song. Michael Jackson, Rock With You, that melody comes in, super distinctive. It catches you right away. And my favorite song of all time by this guy, my mentor, Mr. I'll Be Sure, he made my favorite song of all time, which is Night and Day. And you know what makes Night and Day so special? There's a lot of things that make it special. But as soon as that 808 drops, and right away you hear that lead sound. Right away, as soon as that 808 drops and that lead comes in, it's over. It's a hit already. It's a hit even before the vocals and the talking start. And that's what's amazing about that song is that as soon as it, you know, within the first 2 seconds, it's already a hit record. Yeah, you know, I'll Be Sure he's definitely a genius, and he clearly, like for me, his music is the #1 influence over my music. So I pretty much patent my whole style. You know, even the old, I'm a 90s dude. I mean, I still got, you know, I'm still rocking the flat top with curls. That's because of Al, man. You know what I mean? I patent my whole style, you know, off of that branding. You know what I mean? So when I was younger, it was a little bit different. I was influenced by Snoop Dogg and people like that. So I tried the whole, you know, that kind of look growing up and stuff. But as I got older and I decided I wanted to do this music, I was like, man, who could I pattern myself after? And I'll Be Sure the music really spoke to me, and the whole branding too, just like clean cut, you know what I mean? Like that, the branding behind it as well, it just made sense to me. But yeah, man, so pretty much, you know, I mean, this is a really simple video, but you know, it's coming up with a really hypnotizing melody, and somehow it has to come through. It has to engage people within that first 15 seconds, really. I mean, these days, 15 seconds would be pushing it, but you got to engage people. You got to catch people right away, man. Yeah, Put It Down Tonight. I'm thinking that was on my Around the Way Girl mixtape. Yeah, man. So, and you know, as far as the song that I have that was certified gold last year, soon to be a platinum. Cookie Kawaii Vibe. When I made the instrumental for that, the key focus was just that hook melody. Da, 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 da. Very simplistic. And apparently, I was right about it. It hooked a lot of TikTok listeners. And I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of videos on TikTok. Crazy, like with celebrities and like other celebrities, using the song. And it's crazy to see all these, big time people playing your music and stuff like that. Not that I'm like a starstruck person, but just, knowing how I came up with the music for that, just, ordering keyboards offline and trying to come up with a potent melody. And then years later, it would be a record that actually is certified gold and has hundreds of millions of online streams. That's a crazy feeling. But, man. But yeah, I mean, I guess, it's probably deeper than just saying melody, but it really has to do with the melody. But okay, of course, people want to know, okay, there's melodies on almost everything. So how can a producer or artist know when the melody is really good? And I think it's just, you got to be honest with yourself. And, also you have to say to yourself, maybe not every song or beat is meant to be a hit record either. Not everything has to be a hit record. Some music is just therapy, and you just want to lay it down. And it may be more of a niche thing, but you just want to put it down. But there's certain melodies that you create and you go, oh wow, that there's something to that has hit potential. What's good? Well, what's good, man? It was good kicking with you the other day, man. Yeah, so I think, even when I make a melody, I go, does this have hit potential? And sometimes it's just like, I know I'm feeling it. And so I was like, I'm feeling this, but there's certain ones where I'm like, whoa, if this catches, this could be potentially a hit record. And so it's hard to know for sure, but I just know, I know for a fact that if you think about the biggest hit songs out there, the melody has to be super potent. You know what I mean? Of course, drums and rhythm play a big role. But, a lot of times you could take a song from a different genre, and as long as that melody is right, that song could, you could take a song that's done in a different genre and make it, in a completely new genre, and it'll still connect with people because that melody is strong. I mean, there's lots of examples of that. People will make music, revive old songs that are not even in the same genre, but because that melody is so strong, it still reaches people. Yeah, Keith Sweat, man. Keith Sweat is a bad boy. He's still putting music out, man. Keith Sweat, he's still putting music out, man. So shout out to Keith, man. Yeah, Keith is a bad boy. You know what makes me mad is, a lot of the golden acts from the 90s, people don't talk about him enough. But I mean, Keith Sweat is an absolute icon, bro. Like, his catalog of music is insane, and people don't even mention his production enough. I mean, Keith Sweat was producing records like Silk, Freak Me, like that Silk record. That's such a classic record, and that's Keith Sweat. That's his production, his arrangements, and his vocal arrangements, and put together with Silk's brilliant vocals. That's always been one of my favorite R&B records. And then take it back to Make It Last Forever, I Want Her, those records. And then even man, I had all the Keith Sweat CDs growing up. It's too bad that the newer cars, man, what makes me mad? That these newer cars, they don't have CD players. Everything you got to do, Everything has to be Spotify or stream. So that's very frustrating. So what's the point of getting a new whip? To me, I don't even want a new car because they don't have CD players, because CD players have that pristine sound. Spotify and streaming services still can't really compete with the quality of a CD or even a tape for that matter. So K-Lit was good, man. So I stay rocking. I don't think I'll ever buy it. No matter what happens, or if I made $100 million, I don't think I'm ever gonna buy a new car because it's just like I need a CD player, bro. So I guess I'm gonna be stuck in the '90s, or the early 2000s. But that's cool. But to me, being able to pop a CD in, have a good sound system and really pump up your music, that's always been one of my favorite ways to listen, was just listening to great music when you're driving with the proper sound system. Man, there's nothing like that. You know what I mean? So you said, I feel like the real R&B doesn't get much credit. Somebody told me a few years ago that nobody wants to hear dated sound anymore. I got mad because I still produce. Yeah. I mean, there's something for everybody out there, especially on the internet. One thing about the internet is there's a bunch of opinions, man. So, I mean, R&B is alive to me because I'm still listening to it. So, yeah. So, but of course, there's always going to be people that say that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And to be fair, a lot of the modern artists are still using R&B. They're just doing it in their own way. Drake, he probably doesn't get a lot of credit for his blends of R&B, and you're not going to catch him singing like KC, ooh yeah. You ain't going to catch him doing ooh yeah, oh yeah. You ain't going to catch him doing that. But he's going to keep it real mellow. He's going to he's going to keep it real mellow like Sade, and Sade is one of his biggest influences. So that's what I liked about Drake, is that he keeps his R&B influences in his music. So I actually appreciate that he does that, because in essence, he's keeping the melodies alive, the R&B melodies alive. Maybe it's not like on every single song. Obviously, he goes back and forth between rap but a lot of his hit records are technically R&B. Maybe it's not the R&B that we grew up on, but he's using all those inflections of like Sade and Aaliyah. A lot of people don't recognize it, but you can tell that Drake borrowed a lot from Marcus Houston as well. Study Marcus Houston's early 2000s music and then go back and listen to Drake's first couple albums and tell me that I'm wrong, because yeah, Drake was heavily, I don't hear him mention it too much, but you could tell that he was getting some vibes from Marcus Houston as well. Listen to their vocals and their tone. But yeah, so shout out to Drake, man, because he definitely uses R&B in his music. And even, I'm not into the whole beef stuff or whatnot, but even, shout out to Kendrick as well. He uses a lot of R&B production in his music, and I appreciate that well. So, those are two prominent artists that they're keeping R&B as a part of their music. And they might not be doing it the way that we grew up with, but they're still putting that in the music. So in essence, it's still out there. It's still going, they're keeping it alive in their own way. Yeah. October London. Yeah, man, he's doing some like Marvin Gaye type stuff, man. So shout out to him as well. Yeah. Arise 24 was good. Yeah, man. So if y'all just tuning in, got my pair here, and we talking about the science behind a hit record. What makes the science, or what makes a hit record? Let's break it down. Let's study what really makes a hit record, because at the end of the day, if you do music, everybody wants to make a hit. I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say, yeah, I just want to make songs that nobody hears. Like, I want to make I want to make hit records. That's my objective. I want to make music that connects with the masses, right? And obviously, it's not going to happen to every single song, but you want to be able to. You want your music to truly connect. You want to be a success, you know. Exactly, exactly. So that, I think studying the science behind a hit song is, I don't hear people talking about it enough, because I think if musicians really study the science behind it, I think more hits will be made. I mean, just really study the science behind a hit song. Listen to all the greatest number one top 10 hits of all time. You can even go as far as to Whitney Houston or songs like that. She was, going number one with slow songs. She was going number one with pure ballads, because the melody touched people in a way where it didn't matter if it didn't have to be a club banger. You know what I mean? That music, the greatest love of all, or those kind of songs would just come through, and people are takes people to another place. Or like that Bodyguard soundtrack or whatever, Whitney Houston Bodyguard soundtrack, and all those records like that, really, they're not a bunch of club records. They're just music. They're songs that are just like with really powerful melodies, and then 10 million sold. You know what I mean? So Whitney's a great example. Al B. Sure is a great example. Michael Jackson's like, he set the status quo for a hit record, or he set the threshold, what what we should all be chasing after. Off the Wall, then Thriller. The funny thing is, the actual song Thriller is, Michael Jackson has so many other songs that are even greater than Thriller, but the video for Thriller was probably what took it to what I believe was what truly took that song to the next level. But that, Michael Jackson, his catalog is so crazy. I would argue that his other songs are way better than Thriller. You know what I mean? So, but it took, Thriller is the one that blew him up. You know what I mean? So, or blew him up to the next level. He was already major, but it blew him up to like a level that no artist will probably ever reach again. He blew him up to the level where he was like, I mean, you go look up Michael Jackson in the early 80s, man. Nobody's ever had that kind of fame as an artist ever again. The level that he reached, I mean, the level of fame that he reached with Thriller is, you'll never probably ever see anything like that again. It's just, it's crazy. So for those of us who grew up in those times, if you know, those Michael Jackson years are crazy, where you see fans literally going into convulsions and getting carried away by stretchers because they're just in awe to be in front of him, right? And we're talking about crowds where there's 50,000 people and like hundreds of people are like passing out. If you go look at those old Michael Jackson performances, you'll see just tons of people just passing out, getting carried out. They just couldn't handle being in front of him because he just had that effect. His music, his presence had that effect on people. And I've never seen anything like it ever, and I strongly doubt that that'll ever happen again. I mean, maybe, but I strongly doubt it, Yeah, he definitely, he made his music videos like short films. And the thing about Michael, he took the hit song to the next level because the way he was able to capture it visually, he was able to capture you with the music on the radio or on the album, but when you went and watched the visual for it, somehow he was able to synchronize his visuals to be just as powerful as the song. Now, this is where a lot of artists mess up these days, is sometimes you'll have a good song, but then the visual will not match the level of quality of the song. And that's something that we all need to pay attention to from Michael, what every musician could learn from Michael, and that I believe would work in this day and age, is not just having great music, but how do you bring that great music to people visually? It's one of the reasons why Michael Jackson is the best selling artist or had the best selling album of all time. So the reason that he has the best selling album of all time, it's not the music, obviously, is number one, but it's also he was able to combine the music visually, and it not many people can do that. You know what I mean? Yeah, he took he borrowed from his, you know, his influences, James Brown, you know, Diana Ross, like whoever he was listening to. He always talks about some guy named Fred Astaire that I'm not familiar with who that is, but Michael was definitely influenced, you know, by people like that, Smokey Robinson, the people of his era. And he was also influenced by his peers, people that were making music at the time. So Michael Jackson was, you know, he was listening to rock music as well. That's why when he, you know, he did Beat It, he had I forgot the guy's name, but the guitarist on Beat It is from a, like, I think Van Halen or something like that, that solo. You know, the Beat It solo was pretty crazy. But so Michael Jackson, he was listening to the rock music at that time because, you know, rock was really big back in the early 80s as well. And he incorporated it into his R&B, and he just made something completely new, you know? Yeah. Michael Jackson, obviously, you know, he has his controversies and whatnot, but he his talent, what he did for the music world cannot be denied. I think one thing people forget, you know, that, you know, artists and musicians are human, and but you know, if they've done something great, you got to give them credit for that. You know what I mean? So you know, we do live in cancel culture and stuff where people, all it takes is one thing to leak out and then people want to cancel that music. But I mean, I haven't canceled nobody, bro. Anybody that I was listening to 10 years ago, I'm still listening to them. You know what I mean? That's just me. I separate the music from people who they are, because let's just be real. There's all kinds of crazy stuff people can do behind closed doors that we'll never know. And there's people that act super innocent, like they never did anything. And some of those people are the worst. So let's just be real about that as well. The people that act the most innocent are usually the most devious anyways. You know, we all know that from, if anybody went to church growing up, the people that are too goody two shoe are usually the most conniving people. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, exactly, man. So the science behind the hit song, it needs to be studied. Needs to be studied because people are releasing more music than ever. You can put your music on Spotify. You can upload your music through DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby, all these different distributors or whatever, tongue twister. You can put your music out so easily. You don't even need a record deal. You can just go straight to the platform. With all the music that's out there, you would think that it would be easier to make a hit record. But it's still difficult because people have to master the elements of a hit record. So the key element that I want everybody to truly understand is that, and this goes for me too, I'm not above it, is the melody has to be perfected. It needs to be perfected in a way where when you hear it, you're hooked right away in that first 5 seconds. If you're not hooked, in that first 5-10 seconds, then either you got to start over or just say, hey, this, you know, I'm gonna get this out my system. I'm gonna put this down, but let me keep searching for that melody that's gonna really pop. And you know how we get to that, it's not always easy. You know what I mean? It could be a synth sound, it could be piano chords, it could be you know, guitar plucks or a certain arrangement on a guitar. It could be a vocal sample. Was good, Cortez Smith. It could be a vocal sample. It could be vocal harmony. It could be a string arrangement. Let's think of some modern. What's some hit songs in the last 5 years that are noteworthy? That and it's difficult to think of because stuff doesn't last as long as it used to, right? People they kind of get over it really fast. But yeah, so what are some hit records in the last 5 years like that really smashed? That really were on the charts for like a long time. I can't even. Funny thing is, I can't even think of it. I have to always go back to the old school because the old school records they live a lot longer for whatever reasons. The old school records are still like on the charts. One that stands out to me that I always see on the iTunes charts, as far as in the R&B, is Belle Biv DeVoe Poison. This is one of the records where it's not solely melody. So Belle Biv DeVoe Poison. It's not just the melody on that song. So most of the time it is the melody, but on that song, we all know why that's a hit, right? Because the way that it starts out, girl, I must warn you, I sense something strange in my mind. Situation looks curious. You see, like, but the way that it starts, that drum, like that catches people right away. Yeah, those drums, those SP 1200 drums. Funny fact is that record was actually meant for Mr. Al B. Sure, but Al B. Sure turned it down because it was too similar to his song. He has a song called Just a Taste of Lovin' from In Effect Mode. Y'all go check that out. Similar drums. So it was the guys who produced that song for Belle Biv DeVoe was Dr. Freeze, I think. And they tried to customize it for Al B. Sure, but Al wasn't interested because it wasn't really, he kind of already basically did that sound on In Effect Mode, particularly on Just a Taste of Lovin'. So if you listen to that song, the song is that same drum rhythm, that same pattern. Like, so that's where they got the influence to make the Poison record, but they ended up getting it to Belle Biv DeVoe, and that's what put them on the map back then. So that's a funny story, but it actually ended up working out. But that's a unique record because it's not just the melody in that record is great, but it is the drums on that record that captivate you, that make you keep listening. Because when I think of Poison, I think of the rhythm. It's always that intro, like that part just catches you. You know what I mean? So that's something. So I believe, drum sounds are less likely to be the reason that a song is a hit. But they can be the reason too. But usually it is 90% of the time, it's typically going to be a really strong melody that sets a record on fire, followed by good drum arrangement is just going to help it out. But that particular song, the drum arrangement is so good that's kind of what makes it a hit, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. What's some other records what's some other great examples? Let's think. I'm a 90s guy, so I'm thinking of like stuff that I grew up on. High Five. I like, remember High Five? I like the way, like that record. Again, that was a number one record, and it was pure R&B, and it was number one on the Hot 100, which is, it can be hard to do with the pure R&B record, but that was the 90s, and R&B ruled the world then. So High Five, I like that record. Again, is really, really great chorus, really strong melody in the chorus, almost like an innocent kind of heartfelt melody in the chorus. You know what I mean? I like the way you kiss me when I play your singing. Like those melodies, it just kind of gets to people, and it just gets to people. and it sticks with them. You know what I mean? So that's like another great record. That's another example. Um, you can think of like Usher. You know, a lot of Usher's earlier work. Usher, Nice and Slow. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jodeci. That Jodeci. I mean, Jodeci's like all three albums really. Those that needs to be studied. Uh, yeah, I have a lot of favorite Jodeci songs, but one of my big favorite ones is the Fiending, because I really like that talk box, that Devontae Swing talk box on the Fiending record. Got me fiending, 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 fiending. I'm trying to make that effect, that like that talk box. Fiending, fiending, fiending. Like, yeah, it has that dope, like a talk Roger and Zapp, like talk box on that record. But that's always been one of my favorites. But in Jodeci's, man, their catalog is ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. That Kissing Game, those chords, those Teddy Riley chords. I think Teddy Riley and Bernard Bell or something like that. He has those DX7 chords and some pads coming through that record. It's a beautiful song to be like, just a beautiful arrangement. And it's like an up tempo. So it was interesting how Teddy was able to combine, shout out to Teddy Riley too, man. It was interesting to see how Teddy was able to combine kind of more emotional chords with like club tempos. He was the master of, like, he can take an emotional sound and then put it over a club beat and have you rock into it. But then all of a sudden you're like feeling something too. You're thinking about, you're thinking about a girl you like or something like that, because it's emotional at the same time. It's not just like, oh, I'm partying, but it's a party, but it's also like it gets people in their feelings too. So he was like the master of doing up tempos that also have that emotional side. You know what I mean? So let's study some other records, man. This is kind of left field. I like a lot of Sting's records. When I was growing up as a kid, I didn't pay attention to him too much because it was like, oh, that's what my parents like. It was too adult for me. But as I got older, I began to appreciate his music catalog a lot more. So you can think about, the "I'll Be Watching You" song, which was sampled, with the "Missing You" record. They sampled that, but the "I'll Be Watching You" song is like a great example of a melody it's a very potent melody, right? It's like, I'll be watching you. Every step you take, every move you make, every single. I don't know if I'm now I'm remixing it with the Puff version, but and then it has that Sting had those bridges as well. Oh, can't you see you belong to me? I'm far away. Every step you take, every move you make. Like the way he would bring it back, you go to the bridge or the pre-hook, and then he'd bring it back. Well, I guess that was more of a pre-hook. The bridge is like that. Oh, baby, can't you please? It has like that bridge. So it had that. That was a great arrangement. Great melodies during the verses. Great chorus. Great pre-hook. Great chorus. And then when it amazing bridge, it kind of brings the song to a halt. And so yeah, there's a lot of Sting records where I think a lot of, especially if you do R&B music, you should study a lot of Sting's arrangements. He has a lot of brilliant arrangements that any music producer could benefit from. His music obviously has been sampled a lot in hip hop as well. You know what I mean? So yeah, so Sting, I mean, Miss Mariah Carey, I listened to a lot of her earlier work. And again, the beats were very, very simple. Obviously, her voice carried the instrumentation, but again, the melody, the way that she conveys the melodies in all of her hit songs. I mean, I'm older, y'all, so I'm listening to that first Mariah Carey album. So, you know what I mean? Like one of my favorite records is it's called I Don't Want to Cry. Y'all remember that? So I don't want to cry. Don't want to cry. Nothing in the world could take us back to where we used to be. Like those melodies, the way it's not just the melody in itself, but it's how you convey the melody, because it's how the melody comes out. So even if you're playing it, if you're producing, you could take the same melody and have another producer play it, but it won't feel the same. It won't feel the same because it's the way you play it. It's the way, all the little subtleties of how you play your chords, how a Devontae Swing would play his piano is different from how another producer would do it. It was different from Teddy, even though they're both great, but it's different. You can tell when Devontae was on the keys, it had a certain element to it, right? So that's the crazy thing with melody. It's not everybody can make a hit. I'll say this right now. Not everybody can make a hit song with the same melody. It's how that melody comes out of your soul, whether it's through those keys or whether it's through your vocals, right? So you can take a Mariah Carey, you can take one of her biggest hit records, but if it was another person singing it, it may have not connected. If she would have just wrote that song and gave it to somebody else, it may have not connected, because it's the way that it comes out of the person's soul that moves people. That's my belief, because you can give a hit record to another person and they won't be able to make it a hit, even if they're popular, because it's not connecting, because the way that they sing it is not the way that the other person would do it. I don't know. I think it's a lot deeper than you realize. It's the same reason you could go listen to a remake of a favorite song, and they're trying to do it note for note, but it don't sound right because it's just not connecting to your soul, because it takes the right person to actually sing that melody or perform that melody for it to connect. So that's another thing people need to think about. You could have a hit record, but you might, as a producer, you might have a hit record, but if you have the wrong artist performing that on that record, they might not be able to make it a hit. Sometimes it takes the right vocalist to sing on that or rap on that to really make it stand out. And it could be word for word, melody for melody, the same song, but it takes the right artist to really bring it out. So there's so many dynamics that musicians, all of us who are in here or watching who are musicians, even if you're just a listener, something to study. We need to study all the elements of what really makes a hit. It's simple, but there is complexities in hit records. There is complexities in it. So having the right artist do the song, is important too. I could be sitting on another hit record, but if I have the wrong person use it, even though it could be a hit, the wrong person using it might not be able to bring it there because they're just not the right artist. So that's something else that needs to be studied as well. Man. So producers out there, don't be giving up if you're working with artists or if you're leasing beats online like me. Really, it just takes the right artist to sometimes to take that hit record to its completion. For me, the instrumental for the Cookie Kawaii vibe song, that certified gold that I produced alongside with another producer. That instrumental was being leased. It was leased by a bunch of other people, and those people couldn't make it a hit. But it took Cookie Kawaii to put her vocals on there and the things that she does to make that a real hit record, right? It took that artist to make it a hit record. And of course, they sped it up. The other producer on the track sped it up a bit and stuff. But it took that particular artist to make that a hit. But it was already being used by other people. I had leased that track out 20, at least 10, 15 times, maybe 20 times, maybe 10 or 15 times before they got to it. And the other people that got to it, they couldn't make a hit with it, but she made a hit with it. So it's important to know that as a music producer, is that yes, the right person needs to be on the track to make it a hit, you know. Thank you, A Major. I appreciate that. Yeah, Cortez Smith, Mariah Carey, Can't Let Go. I love that record, man. Right, Mariah Carey, Can't Let Go, bro. When I when I'm chilling, when I'm relaxing, all I do is just I just throw on all the '90s Quiet Storm. You know, I just all Mariah Carey's earlier work, all the stuff like in the early '90s. I'll just put that on, along with like the Janet Jackson, all the slow jams off of the Rhythm Nation Janet Jackson album, and that's pretty much my playlist. Like every day, that's my everyday playlist. You know, different music for different vibes. So if I'm driving, I'm gonna have like Night and Day on or something because I need something that makes me good in a good mood. But if I'm relaxing, I'm gonna throw on those Mariah Carey ballads, those Janet Jackson "Come Back to Me," all that. You know, da 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 da. Like that when I'm just relaxing, I gotta put on those Quiet Storm, like those to take you to another. Those kind of records that just kind of take you to another place. But Janet Jackson, I'm surprised. I should have mentioned her earlier. Let's take a peek at some of Janet Jackson's best songs. Her catalog is absolutely insane. So let's start with one of her earlier albums. Her is with the Control album. That Control album is chock full of hits. Thanks to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are basically in my top 5 favorite producers of all time. Those guys are some of the greatest hit makers ever to walk this earth. Their ability to pull out a melody and bring it to completion and arrange it, that it just needs to be studied. So one of my favorite earlier songs from Janet Jackson, the more innocent Janet Jackson stuff, was "Let's Wait a While." Let's Wait a While is one of the greatest R&B ballads ever. And you know, the let's wait a while before let's wait a while before we go too far. Da, 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 da. Remember that special night when all the stars were shining bright. Like the way that Janet Jackson like sang that was so sincere. It was like so sincere, and the arrangement was very simple. I believe they're using like a DX7, the electric piano. I'm pretty sure that's what they were using. Anytime, any place. Yeah, I love that record. But you know, Let's Wait a While, very simplistic. The beat is not overproduced at all. The chords are very simple, and it has the chords for the verses, the dun, 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 and then the chord changes for the chorus. Dun, 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 dun. And then the bridge. I didn't really know not to let all my feelings show. Like, so simple chords, but they, nice chord changes, simple, not overproduced, but a very potent melody. So that record really stands out to me. Janet Jackson's catalog needs to be studied because there's so many hits in it. Anytime, Any Place. Another one of her greatest slow jams. A really crazy jazzy feel to that particular record, almost like an Al B. Sure kind of feel to that record, because it's using those kind of chords that Al liked to sing on, right? The da 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 da. I want You know, like that part right there is like definitely like a I'll Be Sure kind of melody. I want, you know what I mean? I'm always paying attention to those little intricacies, um, that kind of stuff. So that's one of her greatest slow jams. That we, you know, study the arrangement on that particular song as well, because there's, you know, the chord changes, the bridge, da 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 da, ooh, ooh, baby. Yeah, it just, man, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis with the chords changes, crazy, bro. Nuck and Futz, like like what's that one guy, that one movie, Nuck and Futz. But yeah, I don't really be cussing on my YouTube channel, but yeah, so I'll just say Nuck and Futz. But yeah, man, that's one of her greatest records of all time. I think my favorite Janet Jackson record of all time is "Come Back to Me." Come Back to Me. Come back. That's, I don't know. It's hard to really choose though, but I find myself listening to that record over and over and over again. I just can't. That melody just, it almost haunts you in a way. The harmonies, the way that it was mixed. You know, they were definitely using some kind of crazy mixing console for that particular song, because the harmonies are they're like so wide sounding. It's like wide stereo sounding. I mean, I have never heard harmonies that massive, like they have that analog warm sound with the right touch of reverb. I mean, I don't think anybody to this day could mix a record like Come Back to Me. I mean, producers, musicians, artists, go listen to the mix on Come Back to Me and tell me if you're not blown away. It's Nuck and Futz. The mix on Come Back to Me is one of the best mixes on a song of all time. Listen to the string arrangements. There's string arrangements in the song from a real orchestra. Then, you know, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Jimmy Jam got the, I believe it's like the D50. If I'm not mistaken, he's using the D50 for, you know, those chord layers on Come Back to Me. I think I know the name of the patch. I think he's using Nylon Atmosphere for the Come Back to Me chords, man. Yeah, That's the Way Love Goes. Yeah, that's, man, Janet has so many hits. Come Back to Me. Yeah, just, you know, listen to that song and tell me if you're not blown away by just the mix alone, the way that the way they mix that. I don't hear records mixed at that level of expertise anymore. It's something that really needs to be studied. The quality of that mix, the right touch of reverb, the way everything is panned, the way the harmonies stand out. It's just phenomenal. That's the Way Love Goes is another great one. One of the things that I love about that song, again, it has a key, there's a part in the beat that makes that song really stick with you, and it's that dun, 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 dun. It's like simple, right? But it's just like, and it's funny because Jimmy Jam said that wasn't even a live guitar. He said the guitar was off a keyboard. It was a keyboard guitar, but the way he played it, it sounds so authentic. So the dun, 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 moth to a flame, burned by a fire. Yeah, so it just kind of, that little guitar break really kind of wheels you into the song, you know? Yeah, everything today is more of a, you know, more of a sharper sound. And, you know, shout out to the people that are doing it today, because I'm not mad at anybody that's making music. I got love for you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that people are still making music, because pretty soon, y'all, it's going to be just AI. So at least people, you know, but yeah, of course the music is not as good. We're not getting that quality. I think everybody can agree that the quality of music is nowhere near what it was in the 90s and the 80s, or even the early 2000s. And even before that, I mean, even if you listen to the 70s music, listen to the 60s music, stuff was super classic during all those eras, man. I mean, I listen to everything, bro. I mean, I'll listen to 70s music. I listen to anything that grabs me, anything that can inspire me, I'll listen to it. I mean, I'll listen to even Hotel California by the Eagles, man. Like, those records are brilliant. They're brilliant records. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm no stranger to older music beyond the 80s. I listen to anything that catches me, I'll listen to it, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah, a lot of people are using FL Studio. Actually got hot when I was still a teenager when that came out, and people just started using it. It didn't sound like it did today, but um, yeah, I mean, I think the newer producers. I'm not going to be one of those OG guys that hates on the younger. I think younger people got their own sound, and it's maybe different from a producer like me that I'm obviously you can see that I'm from the 90s because how my music sounds. Um, that's what inspired me. That's the era that I'm from. But I'm not mad at what people. I'm not mad at people trying stuff, man. Like I'm not because I feel like that makes us old when we focus on how much we hate the younger stuff. I feel like that just makes us old. I don't want to, because people were saying the same thing about 90s music. You know what I mean? When it came out, the older people were hating on it too. I've read articles from back in those times where people were hating on hip hop, hating on, the blending of hip hop with stuff. And to us, that stuff is classic. So as we get older, we tend to shun the younger generations. But you know what I mean? Shout out to everybody making music at the end of the day. Yeah, I think today it's all about. Okay, the crazy thing about today is it's less about the music, which is kind of crazy, right? But it's more about the you know being an influencer and then adding your music as part of it. These days, you got to find a way to just get people's attention. If you can get people's attention, you could possibly make a hit record, right? That's why you get the people on TikTok making all these silly videos and dance videos. You throw the right song behind there, and next thing you know, it has 1 billion plays. So, yeah, it can be hard for people that are super talented if they don't know how to get people's attention. It can be people can suffer. I mean, it can be difficult. And I'm speaking for myself as well. Sometimes I'm doing stuff and I'm like, come on, man. People definitely support, but they're not supporting on the level that they should be. Like, you know what I mean? So so there's definitely, but then I realized that, we can get mad and be like, man, I just did this dope track, best track of my life, and it got a couple people checking for it. But then you look at people are watching some cat video or something silly, and that's what's getting 1 billion plays. But I can't be mad at it because at the end of the day, people just want to be entertained. So as we musicians, what up, Joy? Yes, Janet is definitely one of my favorites all day. I mean, I got Janet on my wall, I got Mariah on my wall, Prince, Aaliyah. I just pay tribute to the legends, man. So, but these days people have to figure out how to entertain. As musicians nowadays, it's not enough just to have good or even great music. It's not enough. You have to figure out how to get the attention of people. And so making a hit song, this is another element. It's not just the song anymore. Now it's how do I get people's attention and then bring them to the music, right? So you see people doing all this silly stuff and snapping 3 times before they're like, yeah, look at, and they snap and then and something happens and people are doing all this funny stuff online to get your attention. But that, if it works, it works. And if people are paying attention, if that's what you got to do, it is what it is, as long as you're not doing nothing too crazy. But, as musicians, we got to stay creative. That means we got to stay creative with how we entertain as well. We got to, whatever we can do to bring people to the music, because people are very distracted these days, right? So sometimes people have to, hear something several times before it really catches them. So that's just the world that we live in. So musicians, we're going to have to be more creative about how we get our music out there. It's not going to work. It's not always going to just work to just spam people and just say, hey, check me out. somehow you got to find a way to wheel people in. You got to do, like me personally, I do everything I can to try to get attention. Anything that's not too crazy for. Even wearing clothes, man. I always have a leather jacket on, bro, because I don't have to wear this, but I do it because I know somebody out there likes a leather jacket. Somebody out there is like, oh, that's a nice jacket. I'm not going to roll up with boogers in my nose and coming through all crazy and stuff. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to try to be clean and have a image that somebody might say, hey, I like that. I like that Versace, or I like that watch, or, you know what I mean? So anything that you can get people's attention, you know what I mean? I try to get attention, as much as I can to what I'm comfortable with, what matches who I am. I don't recommend people doing any wild, crazy stuff, but just if you got to find ways to get people's attention, or even just having synthesizers. I know other music producers are checking out the synthesizers. I mean, I get messages every day from people saying, hey, I bought the Prophet X because of you, or hey, I just bought the analog, the Mantis synthesizer because of you. Every day people are messaging me saying, I bought this keyboard. So I get producers' attentions by having different kind of keyboards and stuff, or MPCX drum machine. So, you know what I mean? So as musicians, we got to figure out how to get people to pay attention to what we're doing. And then when we got their attention, then they listen to the music, and then hopefully it moves them. So it's very interesting how to navigate a hit song these days. But okay, I'm going to break it down like this. Pretty much what I come up with is this: the melody is priority. Drums is important too, but I wouldn't say it's more dominant than the melody. The melody has to be extremely dominant, and then it needs to be followed up by great drums. Another thing is drums. Having the right drums kind of describe the era that the song's in, right? So different kind of drums describe the era. Right now, we're still in the heavy trap era. Basically, there's different forms and varieties of trap coming out, right? But it's still the melody. Even if it's a very basic melody, there still has to be some kind of melody on top of that 808 for it to really grab people. But I guess that could be argued. But even the most simplistic beat still needs some kind of melody going, on the top of it. Exactly. The melody is what makes you feel. So, I think as musicians, we really need to dissect what makes a hit record, and strategically, and say, okay, we need hypnotizing melody. The drums need to be great, but the melody comes first. Even if you do the drums first, what I mean by melody comes first is the melody has to be great. Or if you don't have a great melody, you're kind of already you're not on the right path. So great melody comes first, then it needs to be followed up by great drums, right? And so, okay, that's the basic. Then the other element is that if you're producing artists, you need to have the right artists on the track to bring that beat to life. To truly bring it to life, the right artist has to sing or rap on there. So that's another element. And that's one of the most challenging parts, is getting the right person to get on that track. You could say, oh, I mean, let's just be honest. If Drake got on any of my beats, and I believe that he will one day, but if he got on any of my beats, it's probably a high probability that they're going to go platinum, just because he is Drake. He is that. His brand is just at that level where pretty much anything he puts out is going to get hundreds of millions, if not billions of streams. So, but I think that's the most difficult part we face as producers, is trying to get the right artist on the track. But maybe you can't get somebody at that level right now, but maybe you can get the next Drake, or the next Kendrick, or the next Mariah Carey, or the next Rihanna, or the next, Genuine, or the next Al B. Sure, or the next, you know what I'm saying? There's other people with that same level of talent, that need to be, that could be that person that blows up your track, right? So, and then the other element, this is probably one of the most important that we all overlook, because I'm still getting messages from y'all sometimes spamming me with music in my Gmail. Somebody sent me some crazy song the other day. I'm like, bro, I'm not about to click on that. Some people sending me some songs with some crazy title. If I told you some of the titles on these songs, my whole page would be gone. Like, so I can't even repeat some of the songs that people are sending. Like, stop sending me songs that are crazy to my email. None of the guys, none of you guys, but other people be sending me some crazy stuff. And you know what I mean? But this is the last element, and I just mentioned it. We all need to pay attention to this. We have to figure out how to bring people to the music. You know, we can't always just be like, yo, check me out. Yeah, check me out. We have to figure out, how are we going to bring people to the music? So what are ways to captivate or get people's attention so that they then can actually go and listen to the music? So it could, it might take making creative videos on TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. You might have to come up with a creative way to get people's attention. And there's artists out there, I don't remember their names, but there's there's a handful of people who are doing this right now, who are making millions of dollars because they know how to make short form content that entertains, but then they bring the music in there. So they do something entertaining that gets people's attention. Sometimes it's just silly stuff, like they're snapping and all of a sudden they just wake up on a road, or sometimes it's silly stuff that people do. But because people are just silly, man. In general, the average person's silly, and they're gonna look on TikTok and go, "Oh, look at this, man!" Like, that's the average person's like that, right? And sometimes that's what you got to do. What you got to do to get people's attention, and then somehow wheel the music in there and make it part of the video. So that's something that I recommend to all the musicians and the producers out there, is just try to figure out a way to get people's attention. It's like almost when you're dating, you can't always just say everything you feel right away. You say what you feel right away and you're going to scare that person. It's the same approach when you're trying to market your music. If you just blab what you really want too fast, you're going to scare people. People are going to be like, all right, leave me alone. They're going to get annoyed, or they won't even respond, or they might even block you because you keep sending and just sending. You got to be creative with how you get people's attention. So you get creative with how you get people's attention, and then somehow make the music a part of that, because we're living in a new generation where everybody's putting out music. But if you want to be part of that 1% that gets a hit record, you got to get creative with how you're going to bring people in. You got to wheel them in. You got to have what I call music game. You got to have game on how you wheel people in. And if you're not creative on the way that you market, even if you're great, it can really hurt you. It can really hurt you if you're not creative on the way you market. Some people have an advantage. I will say that, let's be honest. If you're a very attractive girl, that gives you an advantage, right? If you have a great profile picture on Instagram, specifically with girls, I don't think people don't care about. I mean, people are not really checking for dudes like that. But if you're a girl and you're an artist and you just happen to have the right look, I'll be honest, that's gonna help you. That's gonna at least you're gonna wheel some people in that way. So that will help. So let's just be honest like that, right? Let's be completely honest. Some people are not blessed in that department, and they're gonna have to work a little harder to get people's attention. But like I said, you have to use what you got to your advantage. We've all been blessed with certain advantages, and we all have some disadvantages. You have to use your advantages to your strength, and figure out how you try to use what you actually have, what you know that you're good at, or certain things that you've been blessed with. How could you use it to your advantage to advance with music. How could you use it to get people's attention to wheel them into your music? So yeah, man. But shoot, it's been nice chopping it up with everybody. If all the music producers on this, if you got my latest kit, let me know how you're doing with this. Send me, let me know how it's coming along. And if you haven't got it yet, if you haven't got my latest kit, Throwback R&B 6, the link is right underneath this video, and you can grab that. Support your boy. As you can see, none of this stuff is free. I mean, I just bought 3 keyboards that it was about $5,000. So, you know what I mean? So whatever I get from this music, whatever I make from this music, it goes right back into it. So if you haven't got that kit yet, you can grab it right below this video. There's a link to buy my brand new kit. And shout out to all the people that got it. I got it within the last week. There's been a bunch of sales that came through for that kit. So I can see a lot of y'all are actually liking it. So shout out to y'all, man. And yeah, and if you're an artist and you're leasing my beats, you can always just go to TonySwayMusic.com. You can get up to 20 beats as low as $50. So I appreciate all the support from everybody. And this definitely won't be the last live that I do. This one actually went on for a while, over an hour. So I appreciate everybody chopping up with me. If you appreciate what I do, make sure you drop a super chat or, show support. And, if you can, I understand, but, show support. What I do isn't free. By this point, y'all, I've probably spent in the last 10 years, I've spent at least $100,000 on music. Music is not free. It's crazy that people can stream stuff for barely any money. That's another. I'll have to make another video on that. This is not free. It's not free to do this. I mean, you all seen all the different keyboards I've had through the years. That alone has been at least $50,000. You guys have, to the other producers, I know you probably know what I'm talking about. But when you're really in this, it costs money, bro. So anybody that supports, it's a big deal because, for me, I get paid in several different ways. You know what I mean? So the hit record is really, really, that's what really helped me out a lot. That hit record with Cookie Kawaii has paid me pretty well. So I'm grateful for that. But also the people that, buy my tracks, that's helped me out a lot as well. So if you're rocking with what I do, make sure to show some support, or I won't do these anymore. I'm not as nice as you guys think I am. I'm all about getting money, bro. That one thing that people don't know about me is I'm very aggressive. I'm in this to win it. I'm not one of those guys that go, yeah, I just want to make music and be broke, bro. And be with, that ain't me, bro. I'm trying to make millions, bro. I'm not playing with y'all. I'm really trying to do this. This is not a game to me. I got family, you know what I mean? I got people depending on me. This is not a game, so if that offends people, I don't care. I do this for real. I'm not as humble as you think I am. I'm nice. I try to be nice, but I'm a very aggressive person when it comes to business. I'm trying to get paid, bro. I'm trying to get that bag. I'm not playing with people. I do what I love. I'm trying to get it. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. Everything is a business at the end of the day. This is a business. If people don't see it as that, then the people that don't see it as a business are clearly not professionals. I've been around the most successful musicians in the world, bro. And some of those people are behind bars. Unfortunately, it's not even funny. You know what I mean? So I've been a part of some interesting situations that I won't even talk about because some of those people are my friends. But y'all know, I've done music with Quincy, I'll Be Sure's son, and I've been to Puff Daddy's house and all that. Luckily, I've never hung around Puff. He was around so I didn't see any of the crazy stuff that allegedly happened. You know what I mean? But I'm just bringing that up to say that I've been around the upper echelons of the music industry with people that have access to hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm in this to win. I'm not here to play I'm in it to go to the top level. And I want to rock with people Yeah, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I'm good friends with Al B, and I won't talk about it too much because that's their, like I said, I'm good friends with Al and I'm good friends with Q. And it's sad to see that happen to it. Really, it's a family. That's a family, all that stuff. It's a family issue. You know what I mean? So I don't, that's why I don't really talk about it too much, because it really is their family and that's what they're going through. And there's internal wars in that family between parents, right? So if you want to make it normal, that's what really is going on. And but being around people like that, people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, it kind of opens your eyes. But of course, I want to get there in an honest way. I want to get there in an honest way by just doing the right thing and being a good person. But, to really do this on a high level, you got to get paid, bro. To really do the music on a high level, you got to be ambitious. You got to, every single successful person that's way above me financially that I've met, they're very aggressive. They might be nice, but they're extremely aggressive with business. They're not there. They're not there to do stuff for free. They're not going to just show up just because they're going to get, every time they show up, they're getting 50 grand or 100 grand to show up. This is a business at the end of the day. And that's one thing I want to stress to other musicians coming up, is that stop looking at yourself like that oh, I want to be super humble. And this is, man, forget all that, bro. Get your bag, man. The economy that we're living in, this is not the time to try to be humble and say you don't want money, bro. You should be trying to get paid. This is not a game. None of the artists that we look up to, you would not know about any of them if they weren't trying to be successful, bro. So don't believe all these people that just say, oh yeah, bro, I just do it for the love. It's like, of course you do it for the love, but if you ain't trying to be successful with it, you're never going to be heard. Even the people that do it for love will admit that you have to be successful or you're not going to be heard. That's just the bottom line. So if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Come on, man. Even DJ Quick said it. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. If it don't fit, you must have quit. That's what the music game is, man. So yeah, man. It's like, I mean, there's certain situations where you got to be humble, but there's like, I don't really show my other side on YouTube because I don't think YouTube could handle my real personality. I'm a crazy dude, bro. Like, as far as just, I should do acting or something on the side, but I have a lot of different parts of my personality that I really don't bring out because I think it would shock people. I grew up around a lot of interesting people, especially of a mixed heritage and stuff. I have, I can turn on different parts of my personality like nothing. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why my music is the way it is. But I'm a very aggressive when it comes to business. And at the end of the day, when you got people that you got to feed and stuff like that, and you're taking care of other people, it's not the time to say that, oh, I just want to do music and I just do it for the love, man. I just do it for the love. I don't even care about the money. Yeah. If you don't care about the money, I'm not rocking with you, bro. I grew up with people that would talk like that. I'm like, bro, if you don't care about the money, then get out of my way, because I'm trying to get them M's. My mentality is like 50 Cent. I have a 50 Cent mentality. Like, I'm not trying to kick it with people that are not trying to do anything, bro. I'm trying to go to the top. You know what I mean? Like, and that's my advice to you guys listening who are musicians. Yeah. Yep. I try to be as real as I can, but like I said, but I'm trying to go to the top, bro. So my advice to the musicians listening to this is that, you know what I mean? Don't be ashamed of being ambitious, bro. Like, don't be ashamed of trying to make something of yourself. Like, everybody wants to shame you for trying to be successful these days. It's like, bro, like that's drama. The people that be saying that, like, bro, you shouldn't what you should, I do it for the love, bro. It's not even about that, man. It's like, why are you like that? I'm like, bro, get out of my way. I don't want to be around people that don't want nothing. Like, why would you go through life and not want anything? Don't you want to be a champion? Don't you want to be like, don't you want to make something of yourself? So I don't understand people that don't want anything out of life. It's like, bro, you're going to sit and just sit there and waste your skills and not be any, and not do something. Then just get out of my way. That's just how, I don't talk to people. I won't talk to people like that. I'm not a rude person, but yeah, I show it through actions. I'm like, look, if you're not, if people are not trying to do stuff, if you're a musician, but you just want to stay at bottom level, I just won't associate with you. I'm trying to rise to the top, bro. That's just my mentality. And I'm not trying to be over humble about it. And yes, I have motivations, family is a motivation, myself is a motivation though, too. I'm trying to, bro, I like to take care of myself too. I like to eat good. I like to, have the finer things in life. And too many people act like, oh, you can't do, bro, it's okay to just have nothing, man. Like, you shouldn't, like, forget that, man. Forget those people. Like, go for yours, man. And that's why advice to you guys is go for yours. Don't be ashamed about being ambitious. That's a bunch of nonsense, man. You can be ambitious and still be a good person. You can be ambitious and still be a good person. Do you think all those billionaires and millionaires are apologizing for, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm rich, man. I'm apologize. Like, none of those guys are doing that. Nobody's sorry for their success. So you shouldn't be sorry for trying to be ambitious either. Go for yours at the end of the day. And if people don't want you to succeed, then just kindly move on from them. You don't have to be rude, but I won't associate with people that don't want to be something. I just don't. And what I notice is those people kind of just float away from me because they just can't relate. They don't have any drive to do it. They have no drive to try to succeed. And even if you don't make it, at least the way that I look at it is that, hey, if you gave life your best shot, that's all that matters at the end of the day. That's all that matters. It matters to you, whatever, as long as you can look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, you know what? I did exactly what I was supposed to do. That's what most important. It's not necessarily that everybody becomes a millionaire or something, but it's just the journey that you go on, the striving, the test, what it does to you to put yourself through that kind of discipline, to actually try, to actually put a real effort into something. It changes you as a person. And, that's just what it is. So, shout out to everybody. I love y'all, man. And that's what it is. So I'm about to get off this chat. I appreciate everybody. God bless y'all. Make sure you go get it. Yeah, I want to make sure everybody's out there trying to get it and try to do something with your life, man. Try to be the best you can be. So God bless y'all. Love y'all. Peace.